What's up, RestoMods Nation? Welcome back to Fix or Pass. This is episode 18, I believe. Getting up there in the double digits. This episode, we're gonna bring you 3 project cars that have stalled out. So it's a thing that we see very commonly. If you're shopping for cars, a lot of times you're gonna find projects that are stalled out for various reasons. 4 big reasons that we see a lot. The biggest one is time. You know, that's one thing money can't buy is time usually. Second one is money. And then space. A lot of people, you see cars getting sold because they just don't have the physical space to have them. That's a common problem here in California. And then the fourth one is skill. Sometimes people run out of talent on their project. When that does happen, you got to hire someone to do that specific part of the project, so you're going to have the money for that. So without further ado, let's look at some of these cars. Let's get it cracking. Okay, very first car. This is a 1973 Camaro LT, $8,500. It's in El Cajon, California, so like eastern San Diego. Let's read a little bit about this car. Project car needs TLC, so it needs some tender love and care. Even when they're done, you want to give them tender love and care. Lots of extra parts, including subframe, rebuilt upper and lower control arms, steering linkage, tires, wheels, new old stock tires. You're probably gonna want to replace those. It says, okay, they're aged out. Reinforced center console, $2,000 worth of paint, deep purple green color. Man, deep purple green, what is that? House of Colors, stock small block 350, ran when parked, missing the carburetor. So pretty much all cars usually run when parked, like you have to get them to the parking spot. So we see that a lot, but it's kind of a weird one. Missing the carburetor, no idea of exact mileage, turbo 400 with dash 3 shift kit, 10 bolt positive rear end, can't remember the gearing. Too many projects. This has been sitting for a long time and I realized I'm just not gonna get to it. This would be a great father-son project. Scammers, give it a break already. Okay, so looks like this guy ran out of time basically. He's got too many projects. Kind of a good problem to have, you know, you got a lot of cars, you can stay busy forever, basically the rest of your life. We do see that a lot. Guys get up there in age, they run out of time to build all of their dream cars and they just start focusing on a handful of them. So maybe that's what's happening here. But the car actually looks pretty good. Let's look at some of these pictures a little bigger. Looks like it's all primered. It's got a little cowl hood. There's some mufflers hanging out in the background here. Maybe that's for the car. Glass is there, tires are all flat. Doesn't look too rusty. It's actually a pretty good body to start with. So I'm definitely, oh, he's got a 4-door Nova in the back. So I'm definitely gonna fix on this car. I mean, it's a 2nd gen Camaro. It's gonna need some body work here on the roof here. 2nd gen Camaros are really hot. It sounds like the subframe stuff, he's already gone through a lot of that. The paint, you know, that's such a personalized color with this deep purple green. I don't doubt that he's got $2,000 in materials in this paint job. Paint material, especially House of Color stuff, is expensive, but that's for you to decide whether you want that color or not. You're gonna see with a lot of projects, people have a lot of parts associated with the car, and what you're hoping for is that those parts fit kind of your final goal with the car. So if they have a lot of parts that aren't things you're gonna wanna put on the car, and you're buying those, then you're gonna have to either get rid of them or sell them. So think about that when you're looking at a project. All these cars are so personalized to people's tastes. Like I said, with the color especially, colors and wheels are what really personalize a car. I kind of like looking at projects like this because in primer you can basically see what you want to see out of the car. You can imagine this car in whatever color you want. So you may not want that paint, but at $8,500, I think if the body's as good as it looks in these pictures, definitely pass.
What did he just say? Check the prompter.
Definitely fix. Oh, dang. We just cut that part out, okay. All right, next car. This is a 66 Chevelle Malibu V8, listed for $5,999. Where is this car? Let's zoom back on the Scottsdale. So this is in Arizona. Probably a pretty dry car. Most of the cars that come out of there, if they've lived their whole life there, they're very rust-free. So a lot of times you see these Arizona ads, they don't even talk about the rust because it's really not even an issue for them there. Let's read briefly. I have to sell my 66 Chevrolet Chevelle. The vehicle is completely stock and its numbers matching V8. I took it to the body shop a year ago, but I cannot afford the body work. Vehicle has up-to-date plates and it's registered, no emissions needed for this year. This is a common one we hear. You know, a lot of body shops, it's not cheap to fix up an old car and get the bodywork and paint done to a high level or even bringing it back to the original level. It's just not cheap, and the more and more time that goes on, the less and less body shops that there are out there that even want to work on something like this. Their bread and butter is kind of collision work, so they get a lot of in and out insurance, collision repair job. The techniques used on modern cars are a little bit different than what it takes to restore one of these old cars. So a lot of times you're up against kind of a knowledge gap where, you know, maybe you have some old timers that really know how to work these old cars. It's a common problem we see, so keep that in mind. If you have a good body shop you can work with, that's gonna save you a lot. So when you're shopping for a project car and it needs bodywork and paint, make sure you have someone that you've either worked with before, you can trust, and that they're gonna keep your budget in mind and meet your goals. You know, there's different, just like anything in life, there's different levels of bodywork and paint, so you kind of have to decide what level you want to take that car to. This car is a 4-door. You know, if you dump a lot of money into this car and get it real clean and nice looking, you might be underwater on this project just because the value is really in the 2-door cars. Still a really cool car. I honestly probably would kind of just drive this thing the way it is. It's kind of like got that beater look to it, but it's all there, it's all original. Let's look at some bigger pictures just so we can get a better feel for this car. So it looks like maybe the bodywork started on this fender. Probably was costing a little more than he thought initially, so they stopped there. Engine looks all complete. Looks like maybe it's had some service. Water pump looks new, intake manifold looks newer. Nice air cleaner. It's still got the single reservoir master cylinder. Very original car. It's got some AC, original AC stuff that's not hooked up anymore. Let's keep going. Okay, so the body actually looks pretty complete and pretty straight, so this might be an easier project. Something to consider about rust or bodywork, it's what you can see on the exterior is usually just the outside. Once you get deeper in, you start digging into a car, you're usually gonna find a little more than what you can see from the outside. It's got some seat covers just covering everything. So if you wanted to take this car to like a full restoration level, you're gonna have a long road ahead of you. But if you absolutely have to have a 4-door 66 Chevelle, it's probably a decent start for it. I'm gonna pass. Although this car is affordable, that 4-door body style is just not the most popular. I really like 66 2-doors, so I may be a little bit biased there, but I'm gonna go ahead and pass on this car. Okay, third one. This is gonna be the last car we do today because we're gonna talk a little bit more about, you know, how to approach a project. But let's read a little bit about this car first. So this is a numbers matching 68 Dodge Coronet RT with a 440 and a 727 torque flight. I have the original build sheet from the rear seat showing the originality. Numbers matching engine and transmission. Car runs but has been sitting for over 10 years. The transmission was rebuilt and has 3 miles on the rebuild. What a bummer. You get a brand new transmission in your car, you go 3 miles and that's it. That's all you get. This was a long-term project that didn't ever materialize. This car is as badass as they come. The original color is light seafoam green with a white vinyl top. It had a red B stripe from the factory, so that's kind of some interesting options. Those are very like late 60s, early 70s popular color schemes. Original interior was white with a split bench seat. Car comes with all of the interior pieces, radio, cover plate, moldings. If you have read this far, you know what you're looking for in terms of rarity and value. This car deserves a full restoration and is a collector's muscle car due to the matching numbers, engine, and transmission. So this guy kind of knows what he's got here. He really likes this car. So he has it priced accordingly at $17,000. To him, you can just tell by reading the ad, this is like the ultimate Mopar muscle car. And it is a very unique car. It's a neat car. Let's look at some pictures. This car is in kind of rough shape. So it looks pretty complete. It's got a mismatched set of wheels. The vinyl top is gone. This grille molding looks a little beat up, but it looks complete. It looks like the RT badge was here, it's missing. So that vinyl top, we've talked about it before. Vinyl top problems are very apparent right here. You see where they just trap moisture and they just start rusting the roof. It was very common for underneath the vinyl to not have like a completely sealed paint job. Some of these cars just had primer underneath them. From the factory. So this is very indicative of a vinyl top car, so you're probably going to need at least a good metal worker or some roof patches, maybe work on your welding skills for this one. Floor looks pretty good. There's the white interior. So although this car, he's stating it's complete, he's also stating this car deserves to be restored. So pretty much all this original stuff, some of it's savable, but like the interior, all that stuff's gonna have to be replaced. Some of this stuff will clean up. A lot of these pieces are hard to find. Some of these vents for the AC are hard to find. He's got some non-original parts, some speaker grills just laid out in here as well. A lot of this dash trim stuff is a little bit hard to find. He's got all the original moldings, which is nice. Usually you can polish these out and they'll fit a lot better than maybe a reproduction molding. The grill is complete, so maybe you could you know, have somebody clean up this kind of bent up headlight bezel there. Not a big deal. Very original underneath. Let's keep looking. Looks pretty rust free. All these body seams here look nice. It looks like it maybe had some sort of undercoating underneath it, but pretty rust free. There's some surface rust. Okay, so back in this rocker, very common for a Mopar. You're gonna get a rusty trunk shelf drop off area basically. So somebody's hot rod, he's got these extended shackles. That was like kind of a real popular modification to get some wide tires in the back. You just lift the back up. Let's keep going. This rocker, same thing. You're gonna wanna do some patchwork there. Same thing with the rust holes on the roof here from the vinyl top. Some paint peeling, so this is probably not original paint. It looks like this lighter seafoam color was original underneath it. This might be a little bit beyond surface rust. You'll have to take a closer look in pictures. Sometimes this cowl area was like galvanized, so the paint doesn't really stick that well. It starts flaking off in big chunks like that. The windshield was cracked in the previous picture. Same thing, some rust in the corners from the vinyl top, and same thing down in here. So that's the last photo he shows. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. This car, if you were going there and if you told this guy you wanted to build a RestoMod, he probably wouldn't even want to sell this car to you, because it sounds like in the ad, he wants this thing restored back to original. That's his vision. So that's something to think about. Especially, I see it a lot more with the Mopar guys. They're kind of divided into two camps. One of them is like, it better be all original, numbers matching. And the other guys are like, I want to drive the car. If it wasn't that highly optioned, build it how you want. So you gotta be careful, because sometimes these guys won't sell you a car if they think you're gonna destroy it in their eyes, you know, by resto-modding it. So something to keep in mind, especially in the Mopar camp. But this car, you got a long road ahead of you if you want to restore this all back to original. This car basically has to be completely blown apart and worked from the ground up. You better have some resources available to you, some time, money, space, all the good stuff, the skills too. You know, there's a few people in the world that can do every single aspect of building a car. They'll do the paint, they'll do the interior. It's pretty rare. And usually when you run into guys like that, there's a lot of trial and error involved, so you have to really want it. You want to have to learn the skill and be okay with failing a couple times on something you've never done before. There's a steep learning process on some of this stuff. So one of those cars that we actually did a feature on, shout out to Fast Monty's Garage and his GTO. He did pretty much everything on that car himself. And he's the first to admit that it's a big process of learning. Kudos to him, because that car came out beautifully, and he did all the work himself. The flip side of that is there's a lot of big shops out there that will build you the whole car from the ground up. That's usually a team of guys. You know, there's guys that are specialized in certain areas. They all come together, and it's a little bit more of a team group effort to get a whole car. So the finished product you see a lot of times, very rare that it's just one guy that did that. So keep that in mind when you're shopping. Don't feel like you have to be that guy. You know, just make sure you have the resources available to find a good team, or to complement your skills with maybe a friend knows bodywork and paint, whatever the case. So keep that in mind. There's two ways to go about it. One of them is going to take more time, the other one's going to take more money, basically. It's kind of hard to avoid all that. Some of the 4 things we talked about before you're getting into a project that will help you assure that you can accomplish your goal of finishing the project. The 4 things are time, money, space, and skill. Time, just set like a realistic time frame for when you want to finish a car. A checklist for your goals, for time frames, that'll help get you to the finish line. If you have no end in sight, it's easy to change your mind and ramble on, and that's why some of these projects get sold. Money, be realistic about your budget. Set a budget, set your expectations for the car that match the budget. If you're on like more of a shoestring budget, you're probably not looking for a full-blown rotisserie restoration. So just be realistic about that. Space, this is an often overlooked one. A lot of people think you can build a car in a driveway or in an alley, and while I'm not saying it's impossible, it's very difficult. It'll be a big roadblock for you. It might discourage you quite a bit. When you blow a car apart, you almost need more than one spot. So if you have a 2-car garage, you can pretty much expect that the car is going to take up that entire 2-car garage. So make sure that's okay with your living situation. So yeah, don't overlook the space thing. And then the skills one is actually probably the one that you can work around the most. Skills are something that you can develop and learn while you're building the car, or you can complement with money. You can pay somebody that already has those skills Sometimes you get a better finished product. So those are the 4 things to keep in mind. That way you're not underwater on these projects and your car doesn't end up on an episode of Fix or Pass. With that being said, thank you for watching. If you're interested in any of these cars, the links are in the description below, and keep having fun with cars.